Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to MindShifters Radio with your co-host, the For-giveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeanie. Michael and Jeanie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rakhma. Michael is the author of Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-hosts, the For-giveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeanie Ryce. And truth that is rooted within me.
Hi, and welcome to MindShifters Radio with the For-giveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. And we are here at Heartland. We are on day 15 of a 16-day Laws of Living intensive. It has been awesome. And I apologize. I just got bumped off of the chat room. It's like, okay, what happens to technology here? Anyway, we are on day 82 of our Memorial Day celebration. And our call-in number is 646-200-4169. Hi, Michael.
Hey, sweetie. We are having an awesome time. You should have been here for dessert last night, everybody. We had this. Jeanie created a pie crust made of figs and rehydrated dried cherries and walnuts, sweetie?
Walnuts and pecans, both.
Walnuts and pecans. And then there was fresh peaches and fresh golden kiwi. And Julie made this awesome topping. What was in the topping?
It was walnut cream.
Walnut cream. I mean, it was to live for, let me tell you. All actual food, not a spot of sugar, not an atom. I mean, you want to talk about orgasmic. This was it. And the night before, we had these truffles. I mean, the food we've been doing has just been so fabulous. A raw onion bread we had for lunch today. Geez, what else have we been eating? I mean, the menus, the food has been just so amazing.
Tonight we have a vegetarian meatloaf that a meat eater probably wouldn't know didn't have meat in it. And we've had some kale salad today. That was great.
Yeah, people who hate kale eat this salad and go, oh, my God, this is kale? You've got to be kidding me. So anyway, it has been a really awesome food program that Jeanie has done. Thank you, your heart, for just the what are some of the other dishes that I mean? Oh, spaghetti squash cut in like it put through a julienne type food processor, and then a raw tomato sauce. I mean, you want to talk about one of the best spaghettis you've ever had, and then a raw lasagna. I mean, on and on and on it goes. And people think, oh, what do? You eat lettuce? Not what happens. Anyway. So that's
powerful
the food program
Powerful processing going on too.
Yeah, this morning was fabulous. There a lot of deep space opening for everybody in the workshop, and wish you could all be here, but it was interesting. You know, we were just in one of the things we talk about in Laws of Living is dreams, and the next morning a young man calls in asking about his dreams. So it was like he was right at the intensive, just tapping right into the energy. So that was pretty cool. Pretty cool.
They get another opportunity, though, in September if they want to do it.
That's true. If somebody wants to get your hands on some absolutely fabulous food. During our intensive, everything we do is totally fresh and raw. And you have as wide a variety. In fact, one of the participants was saying today, you know, when we're ready to eat, we have a huge bell that we ring. And so they were saying to one of the other participants who was here for the first time, he said, when you leave here, you're going to miss that bell. And he was like, well, what do you mean? He said, because when that bell rings, that means we're going to get this awesome variety of these fabulous foods. And she's like, I can remember the first intensive I was at, and I went back to Dayton, Ohio, and it's like, oh, where's the bell? And you'll learn how to prepare those foods too. A lot of people say, if I could eat this way all the time, I would never touch a dead animal again. And so people, part of the training, part of the intensive is to actually get your hands on the food and learn how to prepare some of these fabulous sauces. We were saying at lunch today that lettuce was a great excuse to eat these dressings, and everybody drinks the dress. Everybody drinks the rest of the dressing off their plate when they're finished, and some of us even lick the plate. They're so awesome. So anyway, so that'll be part of a 9-day intensive that we'll be doing. If anybody is ready to move your work forward to the next level, we actually have scheduled. There were 2 people that were here for the teachers training back earlier last month, and they wanted to do the intuitive development and asked if we'd set a schedule one for September. So September the 16th through the 24th. It's a 9-day. It'll start Friday night and go through a week the following Saturday. We'll be doing intuitive development, and in that intensive, we'll cover the workshops. Why is this happening to me again? Key and important part of the process, the healing process, is, of course, the forgiveness work, and part of moving the things out of the way that keep us out of our intuition is forgiving, is removing what never belonged. And so we'll be doing that. We'll be doing mind shifters and still point breathing, a way to use the breath to literally clear out years of garbage in minutes. It moves the structure, this energetic structure, from a state of resistance to a superconductor state in a very, very short time. I've had people who've been meditators, 20 years, been meditating, and they're like, I reached the deepest meditation in 45 minutes that I've ever reached in 20 years of practice. And that's part of the intensive. And then the rest of the intensive will be focused on intuitive development. Intuitive development, the intuitive faculty is the one that Einstein was talking about when he said, we've been given this incredible gift, and what we've done is thrown away the gift, and then we have created a society that honors a servant, the rational mind. And, of course, one of the things that we offer is, in order to heal, you've got to be out of your mind. If you're locked in your rational mind, then you're locked in 1,000 generations of such crazy stuff that, life gets pretty bizarre. And so by being out of your mind, and the whole practice of the intuitive development intensive is to spend hours and hours and hours working with, having feedback, so that when you're listening to your intuition instead of just some kind of fantasy in your mind. So it's pretty powerful intensive, and it'll start on Friday, September the 16th. And for people who work, you can take one day off work that Friday to travel, and then it'll go through a week the following Saturday. So that week is the only week you need to take off work if you're working or what have you. And then Saturday, Sunday, there's time to travel back home and get back for Monday if you're working on Monday. And so that intensive will happen in September. If anybody wants to join us, you know how to reach us. Our call-in number is 646-200-4169. Jeanie, do we have any callers? Are Dr. Tim and David with us tonight?
David is on. Tim is not on today. And Nene's in the chat room, and she said that she was missing the wonderful food. She was eating as raw as she could, and she hoped that the recipe book would be out soon. I told her I was going to take it with me to Tennessee and do editing, and hopefully then within just a couple of weeks we'll have it off to press.
Yes. That will be exciting. And it's going to be a whole new book with many, many well-refined recipes coming to a new level. Oh.
So David is on there with us.
Oh, David, how do you be? You have anything to share today? How was your lunch?
Lunch was incredible. This food is splendid. Done with such love, and
I'm only hearing about every other word. I don't know if if Michael's hearing you any clearer, but
No, it's pretty much every other word.
Let me move to another location. Is this any better?
better right there. Yes.
That's better. Yep,
Better right
better
here?
there.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying the food is just splendid, and the group here is just extraordinary, and their level of participation and the new insights that continue to evolve. When you were talking about Einstein and the intuition and the part that we've that the society is most dissociated from, is that the group here is tapped that there's so many developments and unexpected developments. You know, I had a nice process this morning, and I came in touch with some feelings and emotions and some buried energies that about my own son and his dying a couple of years ago, and processed through a little bit of that, and the space that
a little bit.
For me
That was huge, David.
Yeah, well, you know,
that was not a little bit.
Yeah, it was quite unexpected. Yeah.
I lost you again.
Yeah, I don't hear you either.
Oh, well, let me see. I'll move to another spot. I'll just keep moving around.
Technology.
You hear me now? How's that?
Yes.
Yes.
This is
good now.
Well, now I'm out. Now I'm outside. Good. So it was that space that gets opened up from that intuitiveness of all of the energy and the level of willingness and participation by all of the participants that are here. And, you know, it's on an energetic level, a vibratory level, then it just it opened up. Everything was ready to come out. And it was the last, it would never cross my mind. It never crossed my mind until it resonated with that level of energy and then processed through that. So feeling very wonderful today, and knowing that this is the 15th day, how quickly it has gone by. And I'm just encouraging folks that if you're having an intuitive feeling and a sense about attending this next workshop, it'll be the last really intensive that we'll do, so that we have scheduled anyway this year, and possibly until the next June, July here for Heartland anyway. So if you intuitively are getting a sense, well, I'd like to do that, well, then give us a call and create the space in your life in order to come and do this. Now, I was thinking, Michael, that we might do a intuitive introduction call on the as a conference call. So I just made a note of that about 5 minutes ago. And so we'll look and see maybe if there's questions that people have about the workshop and what it entails. So that's what's going on with me, and would love to hear from some of the callers, something that might be going on for them that they would like some support in processing through.
So if anyone has any questions for us, any thoughts on any of the work that you've been doing, please pick up the phone, give us a call. 646-200-4169 is the number to reach us at. And we would be awesomely blessed to get to chat with you and to share with you the support of the healing process. You know, Jeanie had talked about, and usually we open the show with it, and I didn't say much about it or anything about it, but the fact that we're celebrating Memorial Day. This is day 81, sweetie?
82.
82, so day 82. And if you're new to the show, our celebration of Memorial Day is about our project of eradicating war from planet Earth, bringing a state of peace to the world. How do we expect to do that? Well, our invitation is real simple. That is, we're going to ask you each day to face something in your life where you have some form of hostility or fear. Let yourself soften around that issue and forgive. If you don't know what we're talking about with the forgiveness process, forgiveness in the Aramaic has nothing to do, the base of our work is Aramaic. Forgiveness has nothing whatsoever to do with letting other people off the hook. In fact, if you've gotten into the habit of forgiving people, I'm going to suggest that you stop. And if you choose to pardon someone because they've done something that's, bizarre, off the hook, awesome, great, nice thing to do. But when you pardon someone, please don't make the mistake of thinking you've forgiven. When you say, I forgive you, you're doing the act of pardoning. Forgiveness work is the way that you go inside yourself and remove the root of the disturbance, the upset, or the pain in you. That way, you get to get finished with your pain. The other way, you get to keep exacerbating your pain by focusing on what it is that you need to forgive. And by focusing, you intensify it. And then you play the game of letting somebody else off the hook because it's there. Nobody's responsible for the fact that it's there but you, and nobody can remove it but you. There is a technology. There is a procedure for removing what never belonged in your human structure called forgiveness. It's an ancient Aramaic technology that is absolutely awesome. If you're not familiar with it, go to the website, www.whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com. And on the right side of the page, you'll see a link that says Download Worksheets. If you click on that link, you'll see the first 3 items are a new chapter 24 from my book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And when you read through that, you'll get a description of exactly how the forgiveness process is done. And then the second link is the actual worksheet, the reality management worksheet, the 7-step process. There are some others further down that are different worksheets for working with the forgiveness process, but this one is the base worksheet that has the most advanced information in it at this point for introducing people to forgiveness. And then the third item, when you click on it, there was just an absolutely awesomely powerful young lady that called in a couple of weeks ago, and we walked through a worksheet with her. I think it was the August 2nd show. And the third link under Download Worksheets on our website, you can click on it. It's an MP3 of that show, and you have the most powerful. I mean, started developing this work about 40 years ago, and the forgiveness process I've been working with specifically for over 25. It is the most powerful worksheet I've ever seen anybody do, and it is the most powerful demonstration of the kinds of changes that people can go through if they're willing to forgive. And so we invite you to download that worksheet and put it to work in your life. It's going to change your life. It's going to change your life in ways that you cannot fathom at this point. And we're honored to have the opportunity to be sharing these airwaves with you and these ideas and supporting you in moving through your own work and the process of forgiveness. Jeanie, are there any calls in the chat room or any comments in the chat room or any calls?
We do have a caller on area code 607. You're on the air. Who do we have?
It's Richard. How you going?
Hi, Richard.
So, Michael, are you still there? Hello?
Michael? Let me go tell him that he's not on. Hold on a second.
How are you doing, Richard?
Pretty good, and yourself?
I'm doing fabulous, and I invite you and acknowledge you for your participation and your willingness of doing your worksheets ever since you completed your intensive here, the Why Again Intensive. For the folks that don't know, Richard made a commitment to continue doing minimum of 1 worksheet every day and contacting Why Again when he has that completed as a way of supporting and acknowledging and just supporting him in doing that, to keeping his agreement with that. And he's done it every day since then. So congratulations, Richard.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So I'll wait till Michael gets back on.
I'm here.
Oh, you're there?
I'm here.
Okay.
How are you, sir?
So, blessed and highly favored. say I just jumped on after been on the phone with someone, and so I was sort of mentally going through a worksheet because I figured, well, I might as well call and talk to you about what's going on and the situation that just occurred. I'm part of a meditation group here in Ithaca, and this person had emailed me last night and said that he had some concerns and he wanted to talk to me about something that had happened at the meditation group and or at the place where I go to meditation. So I happened to get a call from him here about 20 minutes before the show started, and I'd been talking to him for like the last half hour. And when I first got on the phone with him, his first, he hasn't been there for like, I can't remember when he quit coming back in the middle of the beginning of this summer, maybe March, something like that. I don't remember now. But apparently we had a little Sunday gathering after meditation one morning, and his recollection was that he felt that I had somehow had some sort of disagreement with the way he was running or what he was doing. He was basically doing sharing in the meditation once, a few times, and apparently somebody had gone to the board and complained, and he had stopped. Where
are we going? Where's the bottom line here?
Well, the bottom line is he called.
What's the resolution look like?
Well, basically at this point is I was calling because I'm in the process of, after getting off the phone with this guy, realizing that I needed to do a worksheet on this because and so I figured, what's a good opportunity to talk to you and just walk through this process. What's going on in my own life right now is this. First, he, thought that I had talked to the board and complained about what he was doing, and said that I had a disdainful look on my face that day at the thing. And I said, well, Rich, this is the 3 months later, I have no clue as to what you're talking about. And, at first he wouldn't even, I said, I don't even know what you're talking about. And eventually he, mentioned he thought I had a disdainful look, that I had complained to the board. And I said, no, that's not the case. I said, I'm not sure what you're talking about in terms of all this stuff. But anyway, in the end, after, talking about this, he definitely wants to continue talking. But after I got off the phone, I realized I had this heaviness on my chest. And it's like, okay, what's going on here? Obviously, I'm reacting to this call, and there's something going on inside of me. And so that's why I'm calling, to see what, how we can walk through, basically, talk about this maybe through a worksheet process.
So if you look at the situation, would at this point, with this heaviness you're feeling, would the object of attention of that worksheet be yourself or this fellow you had the conversation with?
Well, obviously the conversation triggered the heaviness in my chest.
Right.
I'm feeling this like.
So then you start out the worksheet. Okay. So you start the worksheet with number one, be his name.
Right.
And of course your initials.
Right.
And received a call from Rich.
Right.
And would you say that his tone and his conversation was accusing for you? Felt accusing? Sounds like maybe.
Well, basically he's concerned about who
Okay, I'm not concerned about him right now. I'm concerned about you. What's your take? We're doing your worksheet now. So, what would be your sense of?
Right, he was concerned that I had.
No, it's not about him, Rich. Oh, hold it, stop, step back.
Right.
This isn't about him right now. It's not about what he thought. what I'm asking you, this is your worksheet. He's the object of attention. So now you're going to write about your perception of the situation, not what he said or what he thought. But so the bottom line, the way it sounds to me, is that you experienced him as perhaps being accusing or blaming you. Is that what your reality, your experience is?
Right. He was thinking that I had.
No, it's not about what he's thinking. No, stop. You're moving your focus to him at this point and trying to explain what he was thinking, saying, doing, but your heaviness has got nothing to do with him thinking, saying, or doing. Right. He had a conversation, and so now you want to focus on you. So at this step, I have a reality, and what I want to describe is the situation. So the situation was I got a call from Rich, and to me it sounded, did you take it as accusing, blaming? What's your reality?
Yeah, I mean, he was, it sounded accusing and blaming that I was, that the reason he wasn't coming back to meditation anymore was because he felt that I had gone to the board and complained about what he was doing. Notice,
here's a little trap you set for yourself. Notice that you keep going to what he did.
Right.
But this isn't a worksheet about him. Right. He's the object of attention, but it's about your reality. That's why your initials are there after his name.
Exactly.
So we want to work with your reality. So then in the conversation, so the situation, it would seem, would probably be, I had a conversation with Rich, and it seems like he wants to put his not coming back to the meditation group on my shoulders.
Correct.
Would that be accurate? So that's your reality, and that's what you want to do in that step, is describe your reality about that, not his words, but your reality, what it triggered in you.
Right.
So that's what I fill in the number one B with.
Okay. And so then what, my feelings about it was after I got off the phone, I realized I had this heaviness in my chest. It's like weight on my chest.
So I'd mark that in number 1C. So number 1C, heaviness in my chest.
Right.
And if you were to tap into that heaviness on an emotional level, how would you describe that? Would that load look like guilt, fear, self-condemnation? What would that load that is in your chest look like from an emotional perspective? I want you to get into how it feels.
Well, the best way I can describe it is like a constriction, like it's like my breath is being, I guess you might say it was a little bit of combination of everything: guilt, fear, my own, I guess maybe my own fears about. Right.
Okay, so I'd mark that number 1C.
Right.
Constriction.
Right.
Heaviness. Guilt, fear.
And then my thoughts around it are, I guess it's becoming defensive and saying, well, Rich, this is your problem. You're the one who's not coming to meditation and not.
So that's a defensiveness. That's a defensiveness that would tend to put that off. But right now, what you're feeling in your body is guilt and fear. And so it's not about why he's coming or why, and just, you might want to just notice the pattern. What your mind wants to do is it wants to go over and talk about his problem. And that's kind of typical for all of us humans. I have something going on inside of me, and I want to talk about you, because that's the way I avoid me. So what I want to do is keep you on track with this worksheet, and that is, so I have guilt about this, so there's a thought beneath the guilt. And so in number 1D, what's the thought that I use in my physiology to cause my guilt? The other conversation that goes to being about him is a way for you to dissociate from your guilt and your fear and keep you from facing the cause of your guilt and your fear. When you start facing the cause of your guilt and your fear, then you'll be able to change that cause. As long as you have a conversation about him, you'll never change the cause of your guilt and your fear, which means you're just going to have to pull somebody else in to play it out with again and again until you're finished with it.
Right.
So if you look at that situation and you let yourself for a moment just tap into the guilt, what's the thought you use to cause yourself guilt out of that conversation?
Well, the thought that I would use is that he doesn't like the way I perhaps run the meditation group, and left because he didn't like what I was doing. I don't know. I mean, that's
okay. So the guilt is about him not liking what you do. So in this conversation, he triggers you, he triggers the thought that what you're doing isn't good enough.
Right. Correct.
Okay. So then I just make a note in number in C, and that is guilt dash. He doesn't approve of the way I do things.
Right.
That would be the thought you use to produce guilt. And now the other feeling that you identified was fear. What's the thought you use to produce fear? So in that situation, what goes on in your mind that you kind of tend to dissociate from by having the conversation about him and he's not coming, so it's his problem. But the guilt and fear that your physiology is producing is what you want to dump and get rid of.
Right. Well, I guess what he brought up for me was my fears as to the direction that the Foundation of Light is going, where it's headed. And again, that it's, again, it's possibly going in a direction that I'm not, possibly, that I don't, that, again, that the guilt feeling is that what I want to present at the Foundation of Light isn't acceptable by others.
Okay. So that was the guilt one, but now you started to work on the fear.
Right.
So then the second thought you'd have around guilt. So I'd make another dash after that first thought we came up with, and the second was that I'm perhaps not presenting the Foundation of Light properly, the organization properly. Now, would that more tie to the guilt or more tie to the fear?
Well, it's more tied
to the conversation about looking at the fear.
It's more tied to the fear that the Foundation is going in a direction that I guess I'm not happy with, or whatever, that I'm upset about in some respects.
Okay. So then I'd make a little note in 1C about about fear, and that I may not be representing the Foundation of Light properly, and maybe contributing it to going in a downward direction. Is that what I'm kind of hearing?
Well, I would prefer to say it the other way around. That what I would like to present is moving the Foundation in a positive direction,
right. That's what you want. So
right.
If you would, now let's take an intermission here from 1D, and let's go down to number 6. Number 3. And just make a small note there about want the Foundation to move in the right direction. That's a goal.
Correct.
But just make a small note. That may not be the key goal in this worksheet yet, but just make a small note there. I want the Foundation of Light to move in the right direction.
Correct.
Okay. So that's the goal, but up in number 1D, your thoughts with which you're causing fear, what you said was that I may not be representing it properly, And the logical result of that would be that maybe I'm moving it in the wrong direction.
No. I don't think I'm saying that at all. I think what I was saying was my fear is that I'm coming in conflict with the way the direction, with where the leaders of the foundation are perceiving me going in a direction that's counter to what they want.
Okay. So then the thought is the thought of fear is something around, again, I'm not doing it properly.
The fear is that I'm going to be rejected.
Okay. There you go. Okay. So my fear is I might be rejected. And
right.
of course, Rich is a symbol of you being rejected, right?
Right, because he left, and he's sort of blaming me for the reason why he left, or at least that was his. When the first conversation was about, what he felt he perceived about me, and I said, well, look, it's 3 months ago. I have no idea what you're talking about,
Okay.
But again, it's coming down to the fact that it's triggering my fear that I'm going to be rejected based on what I'm presenting.
So then in number 1D, I'd make a note, the feeling's fear. From above, you're going to take the feeling fear and then a dash. And what's the thought? The thought is, I'll be rejected.
Right.
And perhaps I'm causing people to leave. Are you breathing?
Yes.
Good.
Well,
so I'd mark those two down in B.
I was thinking about what you were saying. I was holding my breath. I wasn't breathing because I was thinking about what you were saying. But yes, that's true.
So,
it is. It's the feeling that maybe that people are leaving because of me.
Okay.
But the thing is,
Richard, let's hold there. I don't want to go too far away from each step of the worksheet. So let's stay there with the thought a minute ago. So notice when you say, I was holding my breath, and I knew you were holding your breath because there was a thought there that you've dissociated from and don't want to look at. And when somebody says, oh, I was thinking, that's why I was holding my breath, here's what I'd offer is happening. My whole body-mind unit is a device in which I store my thoughts, mind energy. And when there's something that I don't want to deal with, that I don't want to see, I dissociate from it by holding my breath. And I lock that down somewhere in my tissue structure, somewhere in my body.
In this case, it's probably in my chest.
Okay, good note. Make a note of that. So when I hold my breath and I say I'm thinking, here's what I'm doing. From the neck up, everything that's in that part of the biocomputer I've approved of, it's okay for me to play there. But the stuff from the neck down, no way. I'm not going there. That's where I store all my dissociated stuff. So when I say I'm holding my breath because I'm thinking, what I'm saying is I'm only looking in a safe part of my biocomputer and leaving the rest out. So the invitation is to breathe and let yourself be with what's there, and that'd be a good thing to make a note. There, number 1D is, this is locked in my chest. Good catch. That's probably a product of the awesome body work that you do. That kind of body awareness. That fair make sense?
Yeah, and I'm consciously breathing right now, so that.
Oh, awesome. And then number 1E, I want to punish. What do you want to do to this fellow who's your object of attention to punish him? What would be is there a punishment thought there or a separation thought?
Well, I guess, the only, somehow make him realize that he's the one that's separating himself from the group, not us. It's his thoughts that have taken him away from the group. His issues that have,
But notice, Richard. Richard.
Yeah, I'm coming back to
you have a concern and a fear about being rejected and not doing it right, and you're talking about how he's taking himself away. Now, that may be accurate, but that doesn't that switches the conversation out of what you need to deal with into another realm. That's a mechanism of avoidance. And so I'd invite you to give up all the conversations about him and keep the conversation about yourself.
Okay.
So at this point, number 1E, it sounds like your punishment thought is, I want to blame him. I want him to get that it's his problem.
Yeah.
But I'd offer that it's not his problem, but Richard, it's not his problem that your mind and your emotions and your body are producing guilt and fear. That's your problem.
Correct.
You can project that by saying it's his problem, he's the one who's leaving, therefore. But that's just a way to dissociate from what you're getting the opportunity to heal in the situation.
Okay.
That make sense?
Yeah.
So then 1E would be, I want him to get it's all his fault and his problem.
So what was that
and
again?
I want to blame him. Basically, I want to blame him and for him to see that it's all his problem.
Correct.
And then, so that's number 1E. But I'd make a note on the next line in number 1E, and I realized that my guilt and my fear belongs to me, not him.
Correct.
And notice the pattern, like I think it's been maybe 5 or 6 times now, I've been drag you away from the conversation about him to keep coming back so that you get to move down inside yourself to see what the root of this is for you. And that's just, typical of all of us because our whole culture's language is about, it's all out there. They make me feel they. So that shifting back to going within is a challenge. So that's great. So we've got number 1 complete and laid out. Now, remember that the mind, when it's experiencing something through hostility or fear, is creating its output, its pictures, its realities, out of corrupt data. And when we have corrupt data, we're seeing something that isn't true. So then, number 2, there's a choice. I choose to love truth. And I'm willing for my mind to show me the whole truth, especially about myself and the content of my own mind. And then what is healing going to look like? It's very likely going to look like touching into some of those original times in your life where there was some form of hostility or fear. Maybe experiencing emotional symptoms around that, maybe getting in touch with some old thoughts about yourself that you really don't like to look at. And there may be physical symptoms that go along with it. So step 2 is the choice to love truth and to be willing to go through all 3, the physical, the mental, and the emotional symptoms of healing. So how about just taking that step? Just choose to
right.
love
Well,
truth.
what that brought up for me was a memory of when I was, 7th grade maybe, and high school, and there was a Sunday school teacher at the time had sort of like given our group a talking to, so to speak, of, what's going on with all you guys, blah, 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 and this and that and this and that, and I can't remember all this stuff, but within a week or so, he was killed in a tragic accident. And he was a very revered person in the sense that he was, active in the community, very, it was devastating, obviously within the church because of this person who had such a vibrant life to look forward to.
Right.
And he was definitely close to our family and was killed in a tragic accident. So
And how does this relate to this situation for you?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm just saying that's the memory that came up for me was that of this person giving us this talking to and then being taken away. And
did you have some resentment toward him for the talking to he gave you?
No, I don't recall at this point, other than it was more of an inspirational talk about, what are you guys doing with your lives, this type of thing, And so I'm not sure. I'm just saying that's the memory that came up for me.
Okay. So I just make a note of that over on the right-hand side of the page. His name and that he was killed a week after. And somehow this ties in. We'll just make a note of it for now and move forward with the worksheet.
Okay.
So then, in this whole situation, it sounds like, if you look at number 3, I want number 1A. So this worksheet is on Rich. What was it you wanted from Rich?
Well, I want Rich to are
you breathing?
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not. I'm thinking. I'm trying to bring up something to say, and so I'm holding my breath rather than.
Right.
I will go back to breathing.
So remember that holding your breath means I'm looking.
What do I want from this situation? Well, I want Rich to accept that the group is a dynamic group that people keep coming in and out of it, and it's not necessarily the same people every week, and the group keeps changing. There is a core group of people that
you just switched worksheets.
Well,
there may be a worksheet to do there, but that's a totally different one from the one we're doing. You want to look in this specific situation, what's the goal you held for Rich? And it sounds like from everything you said that the goal, and it's really common, it's a very common thing for people when they get down to number 3 to switch to a different issue so they won't have to go deeper into the issue that they're digging into with this particular worksheet. So moving into wanting him to understand that the group is dynamic is totally different than he's rejected you, he's perhaps left the group because of you, the whole censor may be going in the wrong direction, and you may be the guilty party. That's a whole different worksheet, a whole different process. And it's very common for people to switch into another issue. So I'm going to ask you to come back to this particular issue. There may be other worksheets to do around Rich, and that you might make a note would be one of them. But I'd stay with the goal you have here. And it sounds like the bottom line is, and I'm saying this because I really want to get us through this worksheet. I want to get this to a completion point with you on it. So it sounds like I want Rich to accept and approve of me, and to be seen as doing behaviors that support the center.
Correct.
So I think that's what I'd be putting in number 3.
Right, okay. I want Rich to accept me and
accept and approve of what I'm doing.
For what I'm doing.
And to see that I'm doing things to move the center forward.
Yes, to see that I'm moving things forward, yes.
Yeah. Acknowledge you for that.
Acknowledge me for, yes.
Moving things forward.
Bringing stuff to the foundation that will move things forward.
Right. So that sounds like the goal. Actually, that could be 2 different goals in 2 different worksheets. And then it sounds like perhaps a third goal you could look at, a third worksheet you could do around this whole situation. And one of the ideas of the forgiveness process is to recognize that in order for my mind to produce a hologram called another person out there, there's got to be hundreds of thousands of different files firing. And each goal that I have, if I do that one individually and specifically, will help me to move or collapse the foundational stuff in each of those different files so that I change the whole dynamic of whatever that situation is about. So it sounds like another place that you might go with this worksheet is to look at approving of yourself. So that would be a worksheet on self and self-approval.
Correct.
I'd put that down just as a little side note, because oftentimes when you're doing a worksheet, you can just touch into all kinds of things, get conscious of all kinds of things that are periphery issues but are important in their own right. So that would be another important worksheet to do.
Okay.
And then number 4, remember in the Why Is This Happening to Me Again intensive, we pointed out that it takes 2 things for healing to occur. One is I've got to be willing to open the barrier that lets whatever's hidden in me come to the surface. And then at the same time, I want to have the active presence of love there. And so in number 4, what you want to do is tap into your original created essence. You know, somebody took you from the womb, looked at you, and went, what an awesome presence of love. What a beautiful expression of divine light. And so I invite you to hold yourself as a newborn and really tap into and reconnect with your original being, that awesome expression of divine light. Connect to that presence of love instead of your upset.
Right. I'm using an image from a situation that happened this week where I went to get a cup of coffee and there was a young man there sitting at a table by himself, and he commented to me about my hat, and eventually I ended up having a nice little conversation with him, and he was obviously an intelligent, bright little kid, and I ended up teaching him a little trick that I know, and you know, I just left feeling like, you know, like this person there was like.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and connect to that situation?
I'm just using that image of that child as
go for it.
Something that I can use for myself as, you know, this is me, you know,
right.
This is that beautiful young child, young person, active,
awesome.
intelligent,
good
bright. And,
okay, let's do that.
And
we want to get through the next couple of steps.
We're down to
we've got about
minutes.
8 minutes. 6
okay,
minutes.
whatever.
So go ahead and tap into that image.
Right.
Be with it and really connect and breathe into that awesome presence that you are.
Right.
And then number 5, from that space of connectedness, you want to bring your answer. Just take the one goal. I want Rich to approve of me. Let's do that one.
Right.
But take I want Rich to approve of me and move it down to the blank in number 5.
Right. And I'm going to cancel that out, right?
Yeah, so in 5A, in order to collapse my replicate mind's reality, my repeated guilt or fear-based reality, to be liberated from my hostility and fear, and get back to my true mind, the mind of being, that original, awesome mind that you see in that young man, and the truth about me and Rich, I cancel my need for Rich to approve of me.
Okay.
And I let go of my need to be right. Good, good.
Yep.
I let go of my need to be right.
Okay.
And then the second step in collapsing the reality is that oftentimes there are many generations of energy that have locked us into these kinds of guilt and fears. So there's a power bigger than us that can assist in moving through that energy. So in 5B, I invite, and the name in Aramaic of that power is Ruka de Kudsha, or the higher power people have called it. So I go into the invitation. So I invite, and let's just use the Aramaic Ruka de Kudsha to incline me toward healing, to restore me to my original nature, love, to assist me in keeping love present, and help me to come into direct conscious relationship with and remove the dissociated and projected parts of my carbon-based memory. how about breathing into and doing those 2 steps? And as you do, how do you feel? Number 6.
Well, certainly that heaviness in my chest has gone away. I'm actually breathing more open and freely.
Cool.
Feels
so
good.
Put in there. Okay, so I now feel freer in my chest, breathing open more freely. How about an emotional level?
I feel more accepting of myself.
Oh, okay. So self-approval. Awesome. And in then the second part of 6, and about the situation of 1B, I can see that. If you look back at that whole situation,
I can see that this is a situation about myself. It's really about my feelings about myself.
Mm. So the beauty of touching into that guilt and fear is by bringing it out of dissociation, which is what you just did, into awareness, you get to throw it away. And the load that's carried on a tissue level, literally on a chemical level, bang, disappears. Fabulous. Nice work, Richard.
Thank you.
That's awesome. And then you want to make sure the final step in the process is you want to, you've just canceled the goal that you had for Rich.
Right.
Now you want to create a goal from your highest being, from love, toward Rich.
Right, and that would be the courage to accept him as he is and be at peace and to keep love conscious, active, and present.
Cool. So notice the shift that took place is exactly 180 degrees. What you thought you wanted was for him to accept you, and the truth is now you come to the point where you can just open your heart and accept him. Because the part of you that felt threatened by his accusation, the part of you that felt guilt, you just processed out of. Awesome piece of work. So number 7, Rich, I acknowledge us for creating truth and awesome shift into truth, perfect love, the presence of who we really are, that real being that we are, and then to embrace you totally in my love and as who you are. That's a fabulous worksheet, sir.
Thank you.
Cool.
Well, I appreciate. It was sort of like, what was coming up for me. I needed to deal with it, so that's why I figured I'd just go ahead and call and go through the process because I needed to. It was obvious I needed to do some work at this point.
Cool.
So, thank you.
And just the one of the things to do for yourself is you might make a couple of notes about it for future worksheets and future work that you want to do. Is notice how one of the default your mind has when there's something like this to face in yourself is to have a conversation about somebody else and what their problem. And it sounds like perhaps he's got a problem, but at the point where I've got one, the speck in his eye is not my business, the beam in my own is. And so to just make a note to keep the conversation focused on yourself and your work and where you're going with your work.
Right. Okay,
that's a really important one. All right.
Great.
Well, I am just delighted to be on the team, Richard, and we're down to about 60 seconds here, so our timing worked out pretty well. That was a pretty powerful piece of work.
Thank you.
Delighted. You realize you're going to become one of our star worksheet recordings now, eh? You realize that's going to happen.
Well, that's okay. That's all right. Everybody needs an example,
all right? That's
Take
it.
care.
That's it. Fabulous. Well, thank you, Richard. We appreciate you and honor you, and we look forward to getting to play with you next summer at Heartland, and we certainly enjoyed playing with you this summer, and we support you in creating, everybody that's listening, the best year yet of your eternal life. Take care.
Thank you for listening to MindShifters Radio with the For-giveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeanie, who present the internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeanie are here every Monday through Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Earth Angels Radio. For more on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com.